Hi, everyone. Hello and welcome to all of you. And we are excited that you are here with us for this webinar for the UCLA Alumni Mentor Program, Mentoring Graduate Students. Today's program, we'll be sharing how you can get involved with our Alumni Mentor Program and also some specifics on the graduate student population from our mentor panel. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Gloria Ko, and I serve as Senior Director for Alumni Career Engagement at UCLA Alumni Affairs. And before I jump into the material, I just wanted to do some acknowledgements. First, the UCLA Alumni Association acknowledges the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of Tavangar, the Los Angeles Basin, and South Channel Islands. As a land grant institution, we pay our respects to the Hanuvek Tam ancestors, the Hahi Hiram elders, and the Iyu Hikem, our relatives and relations, past, present, and emerging. We also want to honor those who celebrate Yom Kippur, the holiest day today. Thank you for being here. And also we want to say thank you to our sustaining donors who make programs like this possible with their support. And so thank you for all that you do to make our programs available to all alumni and students. And so as we begin, I'm going to be sharing just an overview of the program, some key dates, things to keep in mind as you embark or decide that you want to embark on this journey with us. And then at the end, we actually will have a great panel of amazing alumni mentors who will be sharing their wise insights from their experiences with us today. And then also we'll have time for a Q&A at the end as well. So please do use the Q&A function in the Zoom and not to put your questions in the chat. So please use the Q&A if you have a question for myself or the panelists. So let's begin. So the Alumni Mentor Program is part of the Alumni Career Engagement suite of programs that we have for alumni and students. And so from digital resources and networking programs to our campus partnerships with academic departments like economics, life sciences, and the humanities, we actually do a lot of different events, whether that's serving students like this one, where we have our alumni serve and lead our students, or we actually have programs that serve alumni where they are as well. And so we collaborate with campus departments, and then also alumni networks here in Los Angeles and beyond. So if you are interested in more of our programs, check out our website there. So the program mission for the Alumni Mentor Program is that we seek to strengthen the Bruin network and enable alumni from all over the globe to share their professional and personal experience and their expertise with current UCLA students. And so a little bit about last year's program. This was the year where students were fully remote, and we were able to engage over 1,000 students, and then our alumni, over 585 of them, served as mentors to students. And specifically for graduate and PhD students, we served over 85 different programs with these students. And so this is a great example of just how our alumni family has been so supportive of our Bruin community during the pandemic. And so this is the website that you can access to learn more about the program. I will share more information right now, but if you want to check out our website for directions, you can also check it out here at alumni.ucla.edu/grad-mentor. And so just to ground us today, I have a quote from John Wooden. So the word mentor is both a verb and noun. It is simultaneously something you do and something you are. The first definition is one you can control. The second one isn't. In other words, you can make a conscious decision to sit down with someone and share wisdom, experience, and encouragement. That is mentoring. And this is from his book on mentoring called A Game Plan for Life, The Power of Mentoring. And the reason why I share this quote is oftentimes we have many alumni who question, can I be a mentor? Do I have what it takes to be a mentor? And I always say yes, because what we need from our mentors are wisdom, their experience, and their encouragement. And so I think that all our alumni have the capacity to be great mentors to all of our students. And for many of you, you come today because you're interested in mentoring a graduate student. And they even more so need your expertise because you have traveled the road that they are about to begin. And this is a great opportunity for you to be a mentor. And so what are the different types of mentorship? These are 3 different types that often our mentors fall into. A personal mentor is someone often that is a teacher for effective living. You oftentimes see them as potentially a family member or someone that is in your personal bubble that oftentimes you think, I really want to live a life just like they do. And this is, these can be teachers, but oftentimes are more personal to us. Then you have professional mentors. These are people we meet in our search to figure out what our professional journey will be. Oftentimes they can come to us from professional organizations, from our academic programs, or even in our organizations and companies that we work in. And these folks are models for career and professional success. And then you have a leadership mentor. And oftentimes this is the one that is probably the least close to us, in that oftentimes they are authority figures or celebrities that we follow. So they could be CEOs and founders, athletic sports people, coaches, players. They could even be just folks that we really like their philosophy and we follow them from a distance, but they are inspirations and authority figures in a way. But our mentors in our alumni mentor program often fall into the first 2 categories, being personal or professional mentors. And specifically for graduate students, oftentimes you start as a professional mentor. Maybe you share a similar program, or you actually are at a company that our students are really interested in. And so it may start out that way, but oftentimes it could lead into a personal connection as well. But for our mentors, we say, just start off as one. Don't worry about being all 3. Often, there is very rare that our mentors will be all 3 to their students, during the course of the year. And so some program expectations. For your commitments, we ask that you commit to the academic year. We ask that you, at a minimum, communicate with your student monthly. And we ask that you fill out the pre and post surveys that we'll send out to you once you're in the program. We ask that you are responsive and timely in your correspondences to your students. Oftentimes our students reach out to us and say, hey, I've been sending emails to my mentor and they haven't responded. And we really ask that you respond, even if it's to say, hey, I'm really busy right now. Can I reach out to you in 2 weeks? They are okay with that. That is totally a fine response. And also that we ask that you share your expertise and your network. Oftentimes your student may come to you and ask a question about an industry that you may not have a lot of knowledge about. And it doesn't mean that you can't be a resource. You have your network, people that are working in industries across the globe. We ask that you open up your network, share your expertise and your network with your students to help them in their year ahead. And so a little bit about our pairing process. We call our pairing process student initiated, but alumni powered. And the reason why we say that is because those are the 2 people that are part of this pairing process, the student and the alumni. There is no third party, like a staff member, putting you together. You 2 are coming together actively. So how that happens is first the alumni mentor raises their hand. You create a profile on our platform UCLA One, and I will show you how to do that. But you'll fill out a profile and our students will begin requesting you to be their mentor starting October 11th. And so starting then, you can review these requests. And then by October 26th, we ask that you select your students. So you get to pick, even though students will be the one initiating the request, you get to decide who it is you want to move forward with. And so we ask that you do that by October 26th. And the reason why we ask you to do that is also because you may receive more requests than you actually want to mentor. And so we ask that you decline those students right away so that they can request another mentor. So we ask that you really think about it and then let those students go if you don't want to mentor them. And then once you officially accept their request, you and the student can begin communication. And that's when your mentorship begins. We will send you an online orientation video to give you all that you need to go over the rules of engagements, to talk about what a mentorship agreement could look like, and also to just give you ideas of what to talk about your first meeting. And so we will give you all of those things, but these are what the dates and the steps that we want you to keep in mind as you consider being an alumni mentor. And so now I'll talk a little bit about UCLA One. So UCLA1.com is where you go to begin your profile to raise your hand to be a mentor. And so UCLA1.com, you will go there. If you don't have a profile yet, you will register. If you are automatically approved, you can go ahead and follow the steps below. If you are not automatically approved, it is usually just because the name either or your email is not one that we recognize, but our staff is on it and will be approving you between 24 to 48 hours just because we need to do some authentication. And then once you are on the feed, this landing page here, you can go to the left panel and click on UCLA Alumni Mentor Program. The drop-down menu will then go and you click on, that's where you go to get started. We ask that you click on settings. And so you click on settings. On the settings page, you get to determine how many students you want to mentor. You can mentor as many as you would like. It could be 1, it could be 5, it could be 10, but we really want you to think about what is your capacity this year. So you get to decide, and then you can pick the number here. And the reason why we ask you to do this number first is you really don't want to accept more students than you need. And then once you've accepted students that are at your limit, you will no longer be shown as an available mentor. And so you won't receive more requests. And that will be key so that you won't be inundated. And then on this page as well, at the bottom, under Offer Mentorship, click on UCLA Alumni Mentor Program. That is also key because that means you are open to taking on mentees. Okay, so once you click here, be sure to update your mentee limit, click on this button, and then you save and you move on to the next step. And then you go to your profile. You can go to the top right and then go to Edit Profile. And then under About Me, we have several questions here that you can answer. Some of them are your activities, your volunteer experience, identities and affiliations that are important to you. And then the questions below are important. We ask that if you are interested in mentoring a graduate student, we ask that you put in the answer in the second to last question, because our graduate students were really interested to learn why a graduate student you're interested in mentoring, and whether that's sharing your professional experience, sharing your network, sharing your insights on how to utilize their professional or master's or PhD degree. That is something that is unique to them. So fill out that question. The other question, just mentoring a student, that can be general. And that also shares if you're interested in mentoring an undergraduate student, they may see that, hey, this is someone I could reach out to as well. And be sure to, after you type out your answer, click Save. And then after you've done that, starting October 11th, students will begin sending their requests. If you want to approve them as they come, you're welcome to do that. If you want to see that, hey, there's a couple coming in, let me just wait a day or two to let some flow in, and then I will do an approval. You can totally do that. And so what you'll see here is, in this example, Kyle sends me a message, hi, Gloria, but we will be telling our students to write to you more than that. We are asking them to share a little bit about themselves and why you were of interest to them. So as you read that, you're also able to look at their profile as well, check them out, make sure that they also have interests that you are aligned with yours. And if you like this person, you can click on Accept, and then you'll be automatically connected to your student, and then you'll begin receiving materials to start your mentorship. If you feel that the student is not someone you would like to work with, please don't hesitate to press decline. That is absolutely okay. And we encourage it so that it will let the student know that you will not be mentoring them and that they need to move on and select another alumni. Students actually have a limit of mentors that they can send requests to. We do not let them spam all our alumni with requests. They actually can only request one at a time. So please let them go if you will not be taking them on. That is totally okay. So then once you are together and you're paired together, our team will actually be available for questions and answers throughout the year. We will provide an online orientation video for you to watch so you can begin right away. And we also will provide training materials and then a copy of what we call a mentor agreement. This is not something that is official in the sense that this is a conversation guide to structure your first meeting, talking about the cadence of your meetings, preferred method of communication, also your goals for both you and your student to think about your goals for the year ahead. And then throughout the year, we'll provide monthly online resources and e-newsletters. And also we have a group on UCLA One for our mentors to share resources, podcasts, articles, books that we've come across to really help in our experience and journey as mentors. And so some key dates for you to remember: starting now, create a profile on UCLA One so that you can begin to put your information there. I also recommend that if you have not registered yet and you have a LinkedIn account, to register with your LinkedIn. It will bring in all your employment information, and so that you don't have to retype any of that. And so that's an easy way that you can populate your UCLA One profile. On October 11th, students' requesting will begin, and you will see, messages come in. If you also are on UCLA One and you say that you do not want any email notifications, you will not receive emails when you get these new requests. So be sure to say that you want email requests if you want those reminders, or just starting October 11th, you can check your UCLA One account to check in on those messages. Now, we ask that you confirm or deny your students by October 26th, okay? So just to end my portion, I just want to quote our beloved John Wooden again. As the old saying goes, we stand on the shoulders of giants. It is our responsibility to make our shoulders available for the next generation to climb. And I just want to say, this next generation of students, they are quite remarkable. They've just finished a year online if they are continuing UCLA students, or they are new to the UCLA environment. And so this fall quarter, they will begin back in a hybrid learning environment, and the students are starting to arrive on campus. And so they need you. They need you to guide them and to share your professional and personal journeys and your wisdom. And so we're excited to have you on board as an alumni mentor. And so now I want to invite our mentors to come on the screen for our mentor panel. We have Belinda Hernandez, who was actually nominated as an outstanding mentor from her student this past year. And Megan Guardiano, she also was nominated as an outstanding mentor, and both of them won our top awards as great mentors for their students. And so I want to invite them to introduce themselves, and we'll jump into some questions. So Belinda, why don't you start us off?
Hi, everyone. My name's Dr. Belinda Hernandez. As mentioned, I'm a graduate of UCLA, class of '96. And what can I say? I was a double major back in that time. And actually living and working. Well, I work everywhere, but I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And what else can I say? I've been with this program. I signed up last year, so I have 1 year as a mentor in this program, and I can speak to more about that in a little bit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Guardiano. Want to say a quick thank you to everyone for your time and interest in being a mentor. So I graduated from the UCLA School of Nursing in 2015 in the bachelor's program. And fun fact is I'm starting the PhD program there this fall as well. So I'll be back. And since graduation in 2015, I've been a registered nurse working at Valley Presbyterian Hospital, started off in labor and delivery, and now I'm a GI lab nurse in perioperative services. For this alumni mentor program, I did join last year as well through UCLA One. And just for context, my mentee, she's going to be a second year, what's called a MECN student. So that's a master's entry into clinical nursing. So she's going to be getting her master's, but she'll be entry-level nurse. So she and I had a similar basic journey into nursing as her. And then I've had a lot of great mentorship experiences through UCLA as an undergrad student. And then also through my hospital, I've been helping establish a mentorship program as well.
Fantastic. Thank you both for your introductions. So for my first question, any of you can start us off. What motivated you to sign up to be a mentor?
So I signed up to be a mentor because in looking back, I didn't feel that I had the mentors around me at that time when I was at UCLA. So I was at UCLA from 92 to 96. I didn't know where to look for additional support or mentoring. And so for me, I always knew that I would come back and return and somehow provide some level of support to students. And interestingly, my research, my doctoral work is on mentoring and leadership development. So coupled with that research, I had even a more interest to return to my alma mater. And fortunately, I found out about this program through an email, a random email that I received from the alumni newsletter or something. And I thought, oh, let me check this out. So I was actually sitting and watching this informational last year, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that's what motivated me even more to provide some mentorship and give back, but also to receive as well. And we could talk about that a little later.
That's great. And before Megan begins, I just want to also say, give a shout out to Dr. Hernandez. We featured her in our Alumni Connect newsletter. And also, if you want to read more about her story, you definitely should. And also for those that are watching, if you have any questions, Dr. Hernandez is definitely, we're excited to have her expertise here as well to talk about the concept of mentoring. So definitely put your questions in the Q&A. So we'll go to you, Megan.
Okay. So yes, so for my motivation, yes, I also wanted to give back. And then you also gain as a mentor the experience of mentoring someone, which we'll speak towards later on. And then just in general, I also just want to help my profession. I know I'm speaking through the nursing perspective, but I feel like it can relate to other areas and professions. Sometimes we still see out there, like in nursing, like sometimes there's that the culture may not be so welcoming to new nurses, for example. So for example, sometimes the more experienced nurses still bully the new graduate nurse. So I wanted to take my own step in being able to contribute towards change and changing the culture and trying to be like positive actions.
And so my next question is actually about what was the most rewarding aspect of being a mentor? What was something that really fed you during this experience?
You see the person who you're meeting with from day one. At least my experience has been when they come to you and they're a little bit nervous, they've read your bio, they've Googled you, they've checked you out on LinkedIn because they do that. If you've conducted research, hopefully they're reading about the work that you've done, where you work. And so they come a little timid, I think, and nervous to have that initial conversation. Via email, they're fine. You know, they, in the beginning, you know, are more open, but I would say over time for me, what was one thing that was rewarding is just you see them grow over time. And for me, it was all through Zoom. So due to COVID, we couldn't meet in person, and just to see them grow and evolve over time, and then they start taking more initiative. You could tell they become more confident, more comfortable with you. The types of questions they ask they start tweaking it. They don't see it. Hopefully the mentor see it over time. And then towards the end, it's just, you know, they've at least my experience, you know, taking over agendas and setting the tone for meetings and what we're going to talk about. So for me, that was rewarding, that somehow I was able to impact them or influence them in a way that it's just about kind of peeling that layer to get them out of maybe a shell or something, just to feel more comfortable. And for me, that's what I really like to see at the end, where it's like, okay, I did something positive in this amount of time. So that was rewarding for me about being a mentor.
And I totally agree with Dr. Hernandez. So yeah, my student, like she started, you know, very nervous, like going into clinicals for the first time. So I totally understood. I totally sympathize with the experience. But yeah, she's been doing really well, getting straight A's, going through the program very well. So it was nice and rewarding to be able to connect back to UCLA. And then also even like with engaging with my mentee, we were also able to reflect upon my own experiences. So it's also nice to be able to see, like for yourself, like how far you've come from when you were a student to now that you're a professional.
Great. For my next question, it's actually about, you've touched on a little bit, both of you, is how you engage with your students. So how did you both uniquely engage with, what strategies did you use to engage your mentee?
So so the good thing about nowadays is that there are so many options for communication, you know, from text to phone, email, Zoom, all so many options, social media even. And actually it might even seem overwhelming since there are like so many options like that. I would say in the beginning, it's really important to establish between your mentee and yourself, like what communication preferences you might have. Some people are more comfortable with email, or other people, like for myself, for example, I'm fine with like texting informally. But yes, especially through the program, they do give the guidelines to help set up a schedule. But because every mentorship relationship's different and unique, like you'll come to learn like your preferences and like what works for you guys. Because also the student's busy, but then you're also busy with your professional life. Like I was working like 4 10.5-hour shifts per week with overtime and on call. So sometimes it can get crazy, but yes, it's possible, like with patience and with like being open to different styles of communication to like establish some.
Yeah.
How about you, Dr.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important for any potential mentor to really think about your own time and your commitment to the student and to the program as well, and be honest and transparent about that with yourself before engaging in the relationship. But in terms of engaging, once you've made that decision, I was similar. We had exchanged, I think, 1 or 2 emails through the UCLA one. You get a sense, and you get a sense from their own bio as well what they're looking for in a mentor. And part of my own engagement strategy is to explore that with a potential mentee before confirming or, accepting them. Because I think it's easy for someone kind of read your bio and say, oh, I also want to be like them and do that. But it's not about the mentor, right? It's not about creating mini me's, right? It's kind of helping or somehow supporting the student flourish in however they want to be or whatever they want to do. So my own engagement was we had sort of these initial, because we were on Zoom calls or meetups or whatever, eventually exchanging kind of cell numbers, emails. In the beginning, though, what I tended to do before even jumping into kind of career conversations, I really try to work with the students on what are their own values, like what brought them to this program, and what sort of mentoring experience have they had that they felt were more successful than others. What did they learn from those previous experiences, and kind of with that in mind, what now are they kind of looking for? Because what we need in a mentor evolves all the time. And I mentioned that to my students is, I may be a great mentor fit for you for this next year or for 5 years, but as your needs change, you may need something different from a different type of mentor, and that's okay. So that's how we were able to keep our connections. And I also laid out my expectations with them in the beginning, like, this is what I need from you. When we meet, kind of have 1 or 2 ideas, if you have any, of things that you want to discuss or not. And that was just for the first few meetings, just to kind of give them something to more structured, and then after that it was natural. But that's what we did. Lots of texting too, like Megan mentioned.
Great. And both of you, again, you both mentioned texting, and the students do really like to text, and sometimes much easier. But I also want to put it out there as too, what Dr. Hernandez mentioned is really thinking about your as a mentor, what your capacity is. If someone texting you is a better way to communicate with you, you don't necessarily need to email. That's totally fine. You don't have to do that. But if maybe you want to set some sort of boundary and not want to be available on text, you can just say, please just email me, or, I will respond to you. You're welcome to set that boundary. And also you're welcome to set it also within, let's say you want to be able to text, but they can't, if they shouldn't text you after a certain time. Again, this is a professional relationship at the start. So you are not their therapist, you are not their parent, and you shouldn't be seen as someone to, bail them out of things, if something happens. That is, we want you to set those boundaries. And also we will tell the students as well in their orientation of respecting your time and your commitment to the program as well. So, being mindful of what you would like to do and experience in this mentorship is key. As you also begin to work with your student. Better to decide, it can always change and it can always evolve as the mentorship moves forward. And so I really loved how Dr. Hernandez and Megan shared, how they engaged. And so then, they, even within their 2 experiences, was slightly different as well. So I guess for my last formal question before we go into some of the Q&A, is what piece of advice would you give to other alumni mentors? Both of you made a really amazing impact on your students. They wrote about it to our staff, and which is why you both won our mentor awards. What are some advice that you would have to other mentors or prospective mentors who would like to make a similar impact on a student?
I was, when you were asking that question, I thought that if someone has not mentored in sort of a official program like this, it's to not kind of think of this as sort of you already have to know what to do, because it comes natural, in my opinion. You'll know how to pivot. You'll know what your mentee might need, or it's based on, that conversation and discussing with them. But my advice is to not feel that you have to know everything, know how can I be the perfect or the best mentor? Because that doesn't happen until you're actually in the dyad or in the relationship, after you get to know each other, right? And get to know their value system, their core values. And that helps a lot, in my opinion, is to be authentic as well. I think we were talking earlier, and if they do come to you and they ask you, if they're asking you specific questions about your profession, you probably could answer those no problem. But if they're asking you some kind of grander, broader questions, more abstract, that you haven't actually reflected on, that may throw you off a little bit. But just be, candor takes you a long way. And just be, truthful with, oh, I never had that experience. I think also, if you just come in wanting to share your experience, and hopefully that helps your mentee somehow, that's, I think, is the best advice, is just come in and share your experience, and that somehow does a lot, I think, in my opinion.
And what I'm going to say is also going to complement Dr. Hernandez as well. So yes, I would say to go into the relationship with patience and open-mindedness towards also yourself and to your mentee. Like the way I like to approach it is that I would be sharing my experience with her, like my clinical experiences or how I got through school. But I would also kind of say, in a way, like a disclaimer saying, this is my journey. This is what I went through. You may not necessarily go through the same thing, but together we can learn from what I've gone through. Like, I guess my philosophy is, I may have suffered, but I'm sharing with you so that you don't have to suffer that way, or at least you'll have the tools to cope with what's going to happen, as opposed to something like, oh, I suffered, so you should suffer as well. So that's not constructive. But yes, because like we'll explore experiences, but then everyone's journey is different. Your mentee is growing and learning from you, but you're also learning from each other as well.
And in your experiences, do you have any other maybe advice for a graduate student? Was there anything you felt that was unique to having a mentee that was a graduate student? As you ponder that, I've had mentors who've had undergraduates, and oftentimes they feel that undergraduates a little bit more about, they may lean toward the more personal mentors, right? Like kind of getting some guidance about next steps and maybe what is it that they want to do. Whereas perhaps with our graduate students, I have heard, I'll put out there, I have heard that it was more about tactical things, right? Like they now have decided they want to move in this direction with their degree. Now, how should I go about doing that? And, having mentors that can guide them. But, I would love to hear your experiences. Do you feel that there was anything in particular with a graduate student that was unique to them?
I tend to think of mentoring in buckets, and depending on the bucket or depending on the type, right? Because there's just not one way to mentor. So I think what you're in my head, the way I translate what you just said is, you have students that are seeking maybe career advice. That's a type of mentoring. Or you have students who may feel that they need more of this psychosocial, not that we're therapists, as Gloria mentioned, but there's still this aspect of mentoring that you can come across as being supportive, as being empathetic, and somehow find ways to build confidence, or help them see that they can be confident, they should be confident. I think with undergrads and grad students, I don't see a distinction between the two. I would never put groups of people in buckets like that because everyone is different. I think you do have grad students that want tactical, like what you call it, or career advisement, but they still need the psychosocial stuff. I work with a lot of executive leaders and mentoring. So these are CEOs of companies and organizations. They don't so much need that tactical stuff. Or maybe they do. You know, I have a lot of leaders. I don't know how I got this job. I've been in this job for 5-10 years and I'm still trying to wing it or figure it out, right? So I don't want to stereotype groups. That's why I'm more about the mentor working with that student and going from there. And that goes back to being honest with yourself about being a mentor. If you don't want to or can't provide that psychosocial, kind of more of that empathetic ear, then okay, then choose a student if they come across in their bio as, I want to learn how to, I don't know, become an accountant or something more specific. And I think that that could be rewarding for both the mentor and the mentee, but I would never separate the two like that. That's just my opinion though.
Yeah, like for me, I didn't really find much of a difference. Like even though like I graduated from the undergrad, like bachelor's program, and my mentees like technically in the master's level, we still like have very similar, if not the same core like journey through nursing. But it might be different from like other types of programs or other types of majors and specialties. So yes, that's why I guess it would be important to clearly communicate with each other about expectations. And then the UCLA One website's like really helpful for building your profile so you can like explain and further give those points as well.
I was curious, how often did you both meet with your students?
I would say for me, we tried to keep a pattern, but life got busy, understandably, especially with last year. But we started off, we had our like our first communication, our telephone call, and then from there, we would just kind of check in with each other. And again, most of our communication ended up being through text, but yeah, if we were able to like plan ahead, like, oh, I'm free this weekend to chat, like we do that. So in a way it was kind of irregular, but it kind of worked with how busy our lives were. So, so that's how we did it.
Yeah, we took advantage because I think by the end of October, your matches are made, or you know who you're matched up with or who you accept. So we both took advantage of our winter break. I also work at university, and we actually met like once a week on Zoom for like half an hour or something like that over winter break, just because I had more time, he had more time, you know. And then my mentee actually was interested or is interested in consulting, which is one of the things I do. And I was able to, he would come once in a while to client meetings with me. I wanted him to kind of be exposed to work, to what consulting is about, instead of me just explaining and describing it over Zoom. So he was able to attend a few meetings and I would give them like this is what the purpose, this is what's, and then we debriefed about it. And so part of my mentoring was showing him as a consultant, look for these things that this potential client may or may not do, right? It's sort of the behind the scenes, little secrets, I guess. And that gave him I hope, the more real to the moment, oh, that's what you do. You spend a lot of time doing this, that, and the other. And so he got that. And for me, I'd like to not just speak as being a mentor, it's really showing them or bringing them in or showing them something. Or maybe if I'm speaking at a conference or something, I'll have them kind of attend, or maybe I'll pay for a registration or something just so they can be kind of part of that or something. But I tend to put in a little more extra because I think it's important. If we're all very busy, and if I'm going to make time to volunteer to do this, I want to make sure it's quality. So for me, I don't take on a lot of mentees at one time. I only had one this last year, and I thought I could do more. But in hindsight, for me, by having one, I was able to provide more of that time to that one student, then kind of sprinkle that time among like 2 or 3, because you'll have chances and opportunities to be a mentor the following year.
No, what you shared, I think, is super important in that oftentimes our students just want a glimpse and just to see with their own eyes, what is it that life is like beyond UCLA? And oftentimes the things that we take for granted, like your presentation, or even an agenda or a deck we make for work, or even if it's shadowing us in a meeting, things that are very commonplace and part of our everyday, for a student to experience it, it really illuminates what this career, this role, this organization is like, and can really answer some questions for them for what they do, for they want to do after UCLA. And oftentimes you can't take them everywhere. And I also want to put it out there that they are also not just free labor. So if you're hoping to be a mentor that's like, I'm going to have them do everything for me, that is not what this is about. But if there are ways that you can engage them in what you're doing, ask them questions like, oh, hey, this is what I'm working on. What do you think? And it helps them think beyond just what they see in class or in their clubs, but it really makes this experience at UCLA that much more rich. And so actually, Natalie Moran, she submitted the question, how many students does a mentor usually accept? I know Dr. Hernandez just said she took on 1. Megan, how many did you take?
I just had 1 request, and then so I just had 1.
Great. And I will say most of our mentors take on 1 or 2. We do have some mentors that actually they actually take on multiples, and so, but they actually do it in a way because they are the types of mentors that want to like have a cohort, and they actually meet as a cohort. So this is not a lot of our mentors, maybe like a handful of them. We have one particular that I think he's a doctor, and he takes on maybe like 5 or 6 medical students, or even students who are pre-med, and he will meet with them monthly, or he'll call a meeting for all of them, and then they will ask him questions so they can learn from all of their questions together. However, it's not like a one-on-one relationship. It's a little bit more of like a group mentoring. So we recommend that you really think about what is your style. Potentially you don't want to do that, right? You want to just focus in on one student, have a more deep relationship with that person, and work with them throughout the year. I think taking on 1, maybe max 2, if this is your first year, just to get your bearings, see what it's like. And then if you feel more comfortable, you can take on more. And you could actually take on more during the year too. If maybe in January you want to take on another one, you can increase your limit And a student who may come late to the program may say, hey, I really want to mentor, and you would be available. So again, it doesn't mean that if you decide one now, you're locked into just one. You can always take on more. So, but you just don't want to overcommit and then have it be like, oh, this is overwhelming. So great. Thank you, Natalie, for your question. And thank you, Dr. Hernandez and Megan, for your answers. I got another, I will actually open it up to our Q&A now. So if you have any questions that you would like to share with our panelists, please add them into the Q&A. I actually wanted to answer a couple things that I realized we may not have been super clear about. So both Dr. Hernandez and Megan talked about Zoom or text. Some people may ask, is this an in-person mentorship or can it be fully virtual? And no matter where you are, whether you're in LA and you're close by or you're not, you can maintain a fully virtual mentorship if that is what you would like to do. If you would like to see them in person, you are welcome to do that. We ask that you, again, maintain, distance if you are both not vaccinated, or if you are also, meeting in a different place, just to abide by the different community regulations. But we also, if you both feel comfortable and you both are free to meet, please do. We ask that, you just be open and communicate with your student about what you would like to do. That is, not something we want to regulate for you. However, if you don't live locally and you're thinking, I'd like to mentor a student, I don't know what, I can't meet with them ever, and that's okay. You don't have to meet with them in person. You can always meet with them over Zoom, or, by WhatsApp or whatever you like. So you can definitely keep that in mind as you like. And during the year, we will try to do alumni resource webinars that will be online. And so you won't be missing too much. We may have some in-person events, but again, as UCLA is figuring out our event protocol for the year ahead, we will keep everyone posted on what we can offer. So I actually have another question from our Q&A. I think this may be one I could answer. This smart person said, I accidentally registered as a student, but I am an alumni. I'm not sure how to change it on my end. So I will answer this quickly. Just email us at alumnimentor@alumni.ucla.edu. Since you came in anonymously, we can't find your name. So just if you could send us your name, we can make that change on the back end. So if you can just email us, that will be the best way for us to change it quickly for you. And so I'll give other people some time to just ask any other questions. I did want to say that UCLA One does have a virtual, okay, Natalie, great. There's a virtual chat function on UCLA One, in the sense that if you would like to not exchange phone numbers or anything like that before you accept, but you want to find out more, you could actually schedule a virtual meeting with them so that you don't have to, exchange any personal information. You can just do that on the UCLA One platform if you want to connect. And you can also ask questions too. You can message them and say, hey, I received your request. I was curious about this. Can you share more about that? So don't feel like you only can just go off what the message says that comes to you. You could actually share more. You can actually ask more questions as well. Great. Okay, well, it seems like we don't have any more questions. So I just wanted to ask Dr. Hernandez and Megan one last question, which was, do you have anything else that you want to leave with our prospective mentors with today? Any last words, last piece of advice?
Just try it and see if you're on the fence about it. Just take it, step by step, and maybe you just start with one and, just be honest about your time as you figure out and navigate the program. And if this year is not for you, maybe next year or something. And that would be it, is just to try it.
Yeah, to try it, and you can also have fun with it. And then like your mentee picked you because they probably saw something about you that inspired them, and then likewise, you might be able to see yourself in your mentee. So it's a great experience overall.
Great. Thank you so much for your insights today. Join me in thanking Dr. Hernandez and Megan today for their time on our panel. Again, also for their time in their students. I think so much of the benefit for our Bruins today is the Bruin Network. And so we hope that you will be part of our program today. Thank you for your time. And feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Email us at alumnimentor@alumni.ucla.edu. We have Mary here. They need assistance with signing up. Please email us. We can schedule a time to connect with you to help you sign up. And so thank you so much for your time, everyone. We hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And again, we hope you will be part of our program. Go Bruins!